one's from men from over there. What a show! And we're the men from over there, there. Yes, we're the men from over there, there. We're the men from over there, there. Yes, we're the men from over there, there. We're the men from over there, there. Yes, we're the men from over there, there. We're the men from over there,
So I cannot describe to you the feeling of when It Chapter 1 finished in about September 2012. You know, it was a balmy, it was a late summer afternoon. You'd finished the film, cut to black, and it says end of Chapter 1. Lost my literal mind. And then it took about a month, but on Halloween night, I was walking the dog and I downloaded it on Audible. And it took a goddamn year because the audiobook is 44 hours long. I go sort of by time and stuff. I had to take a few breaks from listening to it, but I did it. I did it, son. So I feel like I've got a bit of an understanding of it and your boy, Stephen. Fast forward 2 years, and I am hyped, son. I was on that hype train for It Chapter 2, and we sat down, and the trailer, it looked good, and they got good casting, and Jessica Chastain, you know, they listened to us, and alright, James McAvoy, not my first choice for Bill Denborough, but there you go, it's fine. We got there, we sat down, and we watched it, and, well, Bill Hader was good. No, they were all good. And the one that played Eddie Kaspbrak was good as well. Look, they were all fine. They were all typed really well. They were just restrained to fuck by, if you pardon my French, they were just restrained by a script that clearly didn't do justice to the source material. So it is scary enough because it's literal children put in a situation that children should never be put in, and then you're literally giving them their worst fears. So couple that with grown-ups, which by that point in the story, even though in the book they play obviously concurrently to each other, but by that point in the story, these are adults, and so the stuff they're dealing with, the stuff the kids have to deal with is arguably got nothing on the stuff the adults have to deal with. It's crazy. So, and I was hyped for it, and a little bit disappointed. So, here is my take on how to fix It Chapter 2. And don't worry, I'm not going to spiel at you. I'm not going to give you breakdowns about 3-act structures and about heroes' journeys and the challenges of adapting Stephen King and Death of the Author and blah blah blah. I'm going to play you one sound. That is right, kids. We're doing it. I was sat with Sally a few weeks ago, and we were just discussing it. And I just married the two in my head. I'm like, Recess meet Stephen King. Okay, bear with me. Don't click away. I see you hovering over the red. You bring that boy back down. I'm gonna convince you why it is right, son. Okay, Recess, classic Disney cartoon, right? But didn't we not all want to see? All right, so we all wanted to see what happened after the series. And yeah, they did Taking on 5th grade, and it was okay. But I remember there was like a horror episode, right? There was one about the bikes and the one about Finster, and there was this urban legend that apparently got cancelled and pulled because it was too scary. And although that was not true, I think that's kind of lay dormant in my head for years and years and years. And I watched a lot of Recess. Well, no, I didn't watch a lot of Recess. I watched the literal same episodes, the same series on repeat just a lot of times. So I've got a pretty good understanding of the world of 3rd Street and what have you. And so for context, they never actually specify where it is set, so I'm just going to refer to the area as 3rd Street. So then, as a young man, I meet this franchise, this story about kids having to deal with these fears and their worst nightmares. So what I'm saying is It Chapter 2 should actually be Recess. Right, so we are going to have to fill in some blanks, and that's absolutely fine. You remember how I said the two stories run concurrently to each other? So when we open Recess Chapter 2, the gang's all already grown up. They've already moved on from 3rd Street. You've got TJ, he's in a boring desk job. One of the Ashleys, not Ashley A, I've got a plan for her, but Ashley B or Q, doesn't really matter which one, maybe all of them, whatever. So you remember he had high aspirations. I'm going to be president one day. I'm bread and butter, all that. Oh yeah, he's got little motives of that at his boring office job, son.
Huh?
He's got a wife that kind of nags on him. He's being bossed around by Ashley A and Ashley B and Ashley Q and all the rest of it. He's literally turned into his dad. He's bored. He's bored out of his goddamn mind. He's unhappy with his job lot in life. When he left school, he had so many aspirations, but here he is, just totally bored out of his mind. Mikey, on the other hand, has got svelte.
Huh?
He is thick with many C's. He is thin. We all wanted to see it right now. Me personally, I'm not as bothered about the fat guy gets thin sort of trope that it may or may not have sort of a dabble in starting, but as we are adapting the story, it makes the most sense. So Gus is in the military. He's inherited his dad's position. He's drilling it. He's proper going for it, you know. And bear in mind, this can either be modern day or this can be sort of, because the original series was set in the 90s, so this could be like late noughties, basically around about now time. So you could put some modern politics in it. You don't really need to though. Gretchen is a scientist, obviously, but dealing with very modern. We can have a little 5-minute bit about like topicality issues. You know how the Disney live action remakes, I bloody love that. I'm not saying this should be live action, it shouldn't, but you know what I'm saying. She's talking about climate change, she's talking about but where's Spinelli? She never left. So hold up, why is this? So if you're familiar with the story of It, when the kids all grow up, and well, it's Bill Denborough that leaves, but gradually one by one they all leave Derry, but Mike is the one that stays. Mike is the one who is Derry born and bred. He's from a farming community and what have you. Now, in the film, It Chapter 1, they sort of built Ben up as more of the scholar, but it was really Mike that stayed, and they couldn't not follow that up in the sequel. Don't even worry about it. But I'm saying it's Spinelli that stayed, because Spinelli has always had an identity issue. You know, she's an Ashley, so that's that episode where she was an Ashley. She's not sure about dancing, so there's that episode where she's dancing. It's very, very, very. It's not even subtext. It's overt text that she uses her violence and her violent tendencies. You know, scram or I'll crunch you, you little weasel, or whatever, you know what I mean? She uses violence as an answer to compensate. So what happens when all her friends have moved? What happens when all the kids have left her? Well, she just stayed. Look at her parents, for example. Like, we do see obviously hints of the different parents throughout the series, but some more than others. But her parents, they're happy where they are. They're comfy. They've got that conformity. Strip back her school life and her violent tendencies. That's all she's ever known. So she stays. And there's also another deeper reason why I wanted her to stay. Because we need a Pennywise in this story. You can't have it without it, right? And the it in our story is one Muriel Finster. We're doing it. Finster, the cranky old miser from the series, always telling those kids to get off the lawn and to stop, ne'er-do-wells and miscreants. Now, mate, she is an ancient evil. She came to this planet eons ago. Came from an egg. This human form that we view her in is the same reason why it chooses the form of Pennywise. She enjoys torturing the children. She enjoys telling them off and being cruel to them. And when we see her in the series, because you see the series only takes place in the context of 4th grade, right? And when it surfaces every 27 years for a couple of months, just long enough for it to feed. So the period of time that the series took place over is precisely when Finster had surfaced, which means Spinelli, during the episode Weekend at Muriel's, had closely spent time with it. She'd been in its lair. She'd escaped the grasp. She only realizes this years after the fact, son. So how are we going to connect the dots? How does this all add up? So we're going to introduce all the other characters in the order that I've described them to you. We're going to go TJ, Mikey, Gus. Oh, Vince. I nearly forgot about Vince. He's a sport athlete. He's kind of got a friendly rivalry with King Bob or whatever. You know, he's doing fine. TJ, Mikey, Gus, Vince, and Gretchen. And then we see Spinelli last, and we see her opening up a newspaper, and it's a two-page spread about a horrible accident that's happened. A school bus, Old Bertha. Do you remember Old Bertha that they did up in that one episode? Old Bertha burned into flames, but there's these scratches all down the side of her, as if she didn't. This was no accident. This was on purpose. A full school bus of kids have sadly burned to a crisp. Oh, did I mention this is going to touch on some heavy stuff? It's going to get a little bit violent. Don't even worry about it. I don't like violent stuff personally, so I'm not going to go too far there, but this is kind of like comic book. We're never going to show anything. We're just going to imply. So she sees these scratches down the side of it. She's thinking, whoa, was this bus attacked? And she knows exactly what's happened. She knows the calling card. Takes up the phone and she calls her friends. Now, because everyone's forgotten about it, right? Because a big part of it is when they have left 3rd Street, they forget about what happened. So TJ is bored in this office job, and yeah, Mike is throwing himself into his workouts, and Gretchen's trying to find the science in life and what have you, and then Vince is just a sport addict. And Gus is in the military, but they've all forgotten what happened. But they all take the calls, and then we have that kind of montage that's the inevitable montage of each of them putting down the phone and kind of being sick and having these volatile reactions to being reminded of it, because they've all been called back. But this is it, and this is Stephen King, so one cannot come back. When Gus puts down the phone, he takes a bath, and if you know it, and if you have seen the film, you'll know exactly what I mean. But for the rest of you wondering why Gus is no longer going to feature in this story, just Google it and know that he was sorry, but he just couldn't do it. So all the kids come back, and they're all sat in a restaurant. Now, there weren't really a lot of restaurants featured in Recess because they were all literal children, but they're having the old sodas, they're having winger dingers for dessert, and they're all sort of laughing about the past and throwing back adventures. Oh, remember when we built that pyramid for King Bob? Oh, you remember when the ball went over the fence? Remember when you were in Ashley? Hey, don't be mentioning that, ha ha ha. But Spinelli has this air to her the whole time. She's like, guys, there is a reason I brought you back here. And she re-explains to him, and they're finding it hard to remember, but in turn she takes each of their hands in turn, and this is when we go into a flashback split up between all the characters. And this flashback, it doesn't have to play in one go. It's essentially going to be a mini episode, but we don't have to play it in one go. We can just play it in 2-3 minute segments. But this is when we're going to recount the original It, because remember, we're going in with Recess, right? And we're jumping in at part 2. So where's part 1? Obviously we're not trying to bend the universes here and say that It Chapter 1 happened, but then It Chapter 2 picks up in the Recess universe. No. We are rewriting it with a Recess layover. So in the original story, it is the summer at 3rd Street School. It is one of the last days of 4th grade. Now we are going to do a little bit of retconning, because obviously Recess Schools Out did already cover the last day of 4th grade, and the kids are all going off to different camps. But what I'm saying is there's a summer ball. All the kids come back to the school, they come back to 3rd Street School for a big summer ball, and we can do a bit of wish fulfillment, a bit of like Randall asking one of the Ashleys to a dance and stuff, and for a while it plays out the exact same humour, the awkward jokes and the weird like music beats and stuff. But the kids are scared all summer, and the parents don't really want to let them go to this ball, because bear in mind, Finster, all summer, she's not been around the kids. She's been out of school, so she's been picking them off. There's missing posters everywhere. The parents are desperate for their kids to stay safe. But, our main 6, they're allowed to go. They're allowed to go. And Hank's wary of all this. He's sort of seen it before, and he's watching over this ball and stuff, and this pageant, if you will. And he notices Corn Chip Girl gets a little distracted by a trail of corn chips. He's trying to help her out. He's trying to be like, no, don't follow those corn chips. She's like, oh, but they're so pretty, and I'm going and stuff. And then we kind of do the under the bleachers scene where she finds Finster, but she doesn't recognize it because it's in the shadows, and Finster's all like, hello there. You know what I mean? And she's just like, I think you're fine. And Corn Chip Girl's like, oh, thank you. And then she fucking eats her, man. She eats Corn Chip Girl. Swallows her in one because she's tiny. So it's about to now I address the elephant in the room. There's a character in Recess, in the original series, whose entire character was delivering prophecies and fear-mongering all the other kids. And that kid's name is Butch. Now, yeah, Butch is going to play a role in this. I know what you're thinking. Maybe he would make an ideal character, Spinelli-esque character, to sort of deliver the bad news and bring everyone back. But he's got nothing to do with the kids. He's in literally, 4 episodes? Like, come on. Get a better thing. Look, Butch will be here and he'll tell the kids at the pageant. He'll be like, I don't trust all this. He's like, I'm looking around. I'm seeing Prickly's had one too many glasses of punch. And, I don't know what Miss Grokey's smoking. He says, but where's Finster? All the kids are like, right, where is Finster? And so it evolves into an attack the block situation where Finster intends on feasting on the pageant. Like, each of the kids see her sort of running around like this creature, this goblin in the basement. So they use their kiddie instincts that they picked up from Recess Schools Out to sort of Rube Goldberg the school to make it into this booby trap. They follow her, they chase her down into the sewers, they back her up, and they beat the hell out of her. They beat the shit out of her. All this repressed rage comes out of the kids. They're beating her up and everything. They banish Finster back down into the sewers. Like, they see her true form, they see her true evil, and If they had rage there before, there was rage, son. There was unrepressed resentment. And that might sound like it jumps from sort of 0 to 100, but again, this part of the story is very condensed. It is just told in flashback, and we're sort of going to imply that maybe what we didn't see is that Finster was really mean to him on the last day of school and stuff, and this has all kind of come out. But basically, they don't go in to fucking kill her, do you know what I mean? They just go in to sort of give her 1-2 and just kind of be like, hey, Finster, now we're out of school, you can't tell us what to do, ha ha ha. But when they see her true form, they're just like, oh shit, she's going to eat everyone. She's going to destroy this school. She's going to kill everyone here, so we've got to do something. So they manage to banish her back into the hole. And they emerge, I don't want it during daylight, they emerge in dusk on the playground. They gather around old Rusty, and Gus reveals to him, he was going to tell him at the party anyway, but Gus reveals to him that he's moving away. He's a military kid, his thing is that he's been to 27 schools and so he's going to move again. And they ask when, and he's like, well, pretty much now. He's like, within the next couple of days. So they all make a vow. They say, guys, this might happen. Mikey's got a big singing career, and Vince has got his big his big sporting career, and TJ, you're going to be president one day. Ha 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 ha. Foreshadowing. So they all slit their palms and agree that one day, if Finster ever does return to haunt the school again and to attack and to prey on the kids again, they will all come back. Then it all comes flooding back to the kids. Fast forward 27 years later, it is back. There's been another incident where kids have been involved. Finster is back. Spinelli has summoned them. They leave the restaurant. They each have their own adventures around 3rd Street. And now Finster is going to take many forms. She's going to taunt them all. With Mikey, she's going to take the form of that singing teacher for that one episode. And Kelso is going to take another form in a different episode. Hank's still going to be knocking around and stuff. He's old and wise, but maybe he's a little bit too old. And what about this? What about this? Prickly's diaries. They find Principal Prickly's personal diaries, and they find that he knew the whole time, because Spinelli's looking through the history of 3rd Street. She sees all the way back when their parents were kids, and their parents were kids, and their parents were kids. There's been this history every 27 years. Finster has always been there. And what's also happening is that something isn't right with 3rd Street. So it's a big part of it that was not addressed in the films at all. When it is almost summoned or triggers, it's not really made clear, by acts of supreme violence. And during its reign, the people of Derry in the original novel become more violent and volatile, and this will follow with 3rd Street School and with 3rd Street in general. So, the kids are going around and there's like biker gangs and people are sloppy and more violent and what have you. But they're going around, they're discovering these memories. We're going to have flashbacks to different scenes in the original text, but what's also happening is that the kids are regressing. Our boys are all grown up, but they are going straight back to being kids. Mikey is eating again. He's piling it back on. TJ, he's becoming like a kid again, like he did in that episode where he became like the kindergarten king. Him and Spinelli maybe finally picking up where that kiss left off. Gretchen meet Ashley A, who's a bit sort of down and out and stuff, because her dad invested in Bitcoin or something, and went bankrupt, so she's a lot more humble, son. So her and Ashley A have this nice little relationship they pick back up from that episode with the solar eclipse box and everything, and we finally address it. Yes, Gretchen is gay, and that's a good thing, and that's amazing. What's going to be said about their story is that at the end, maybe they can never be. We'll get there. Oh, also at one bit to traumatize maybe Vince or what have you, because Vince is kind of there like, oh, you guys, you were always scared by stuff, and not me, I was never scared, I was a big athlete, ha 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 ha. Well, again, in the novel, and this was in the film, the Paul Bunyan statue sort of comes to life. We're going to do that with the Thaddeus T. the third statue, who comes to sort of attack him or what have you, and then all the while, when all Finster's tricks and games have been sort of, diluted, she breaks into a mental asylum and resurrects Lawson. She gets his gang back together, Grundy and the one with the hair and what have you, and she gets Lawson to break himself out with these zombies and stuff. Again, it really fell flat in the film, but Lawson is going to come and attack the gang. He's going to be psycho, and they've got to defend themselves from it. So, where does this all get to? So now, yes, they are adults, but they've got all the adult knowledge, so maybe, I don't know, one of them has a gun or something. That would be quite fun. But they're also kids again, so they have to rekindle that kid ingenuity. They wire up the school again like a proper Rube Goldberg machine. They find all sorts of little hints and references to previous episodes and stuff, and they use that kid ingenuity to trap it again, because together, united we stand and divided we fall. He tried to split them up, but he couldn't. And the friendship is magic message in the actual It Chapter 2 really fell flat and didn't really work, but maybe that was because there wasn't enough build up to it. But with Recess, you've got exactly that kind of build up. We can't do the whole ritual of Chud thing. We can't be doing all the smoke and mirrors and finding out where it came from and finding out how to destroy it. And maybe we'll do the turtle, maybe not. Again, in the original novel, it's not explicitly clear how they defeat it. It just kind of happens through a combination of events. So we're going to do that here. We're going to rest on his laurels here and just kind of be like, alright, screw it. It's the power of friendship. Finster thought that she could defeat the kids, but it turns out the power of friendship was way, way, way too strong, and they managed to defeat her. So afterwards, the kids are all left there. They've got no Gus, and then they start forgetting again, because this happens every time the town goes back to normal. You know, the river's calm and the people just forget about this horrendous period of violence, and life moves on at 3rd Street. So they're all sat on Old Rusty, and they joke that they're not going to agree again to come back if it all hits the fan again. The Palms probably can't take another cutting session. Gretchen's holding hands with Ashley A, and they don't know how long they're going to be able to remember this for, but for as long as they can, they leave. And then TJ and Spinelli sat on the jungle gym, and they're the two, so you've got the two characters here that have had the most struggling with their personality things. Everyone else seems to have gone off and at least done what they set out to. Gretchen became a scientist, and Vince became an athlete. Mikey got himself thin and what have you, but them two, well, TJ wanted to be president, and alright, that was unrealistic, but he's literally working in like a dead-end job. And then Spinelli never really knew what she wanted to be, and in the end she became the guardian of all of this. And so he throws in, he says, hey, remember the experiment we had? And then she's all like, ha ha ha. And he's just like, well, I don't really feel like the evidence was conclusive. I think we need another test. And the hands go over each other and stuff, and then we hit a bit of Let the Sun Shine as a light slowly casts over 3rd Street School, and this weird kind of violent and very, very much not Disney story draws to a close. We've hit the beats from the series, we've hit the beats from the film, we finally got clarity on both the Recess franchise and It Chapter 2. And they could just whack it on Disney Plus, don't even worry about it.